Good morning. This is Don V with Truth Be Told, and we are broadcasting under sunny skies here in Arizona. Without ado, let's go ahead and move on to our first report of the morning. It says poll: Biden approval rating slips among Democrats. Imagine that. Dementia Joe. Dementia Joe Biden is losing ground among Democrats as his approval rating slips within his own party, according to a new Reuters Ipsos poll released Wednesday. 78% of Democrats polled approved of Biden's economic policies, a 7-point drop from the similar survey conducted in April. The poll showed, meanwhile, there was a 6-point increase in the number of Democrats who disapproved of his economic actions. The poll was conducted between June 11th and June 17th. However, it's unclear how many Democrats were surveyed. When broken down further, there was an 11-point decrease in approval among Democrats under 40, while there is an 8-point decrease in approval among Democrats without a college degree and minority Democrats, according to the poll. A slip in Democratic approval comes as Dementia Joe and Democrats have failed to pass several key promises, such as the infrastructure package. Biden has sought to hike taxes for corporations and households making more than $400,000, but has faced pushback from Republicans. The Biden administration has negotiated another infrastructure package with a group of bipartisan senators that totals nearly $1 trillion, following weeks of negotiations. After months of careful negotiations of listening, compromising together, and in good faith moving together, with ups and downs, some blips, the bipartisan group of senators got together and they forced an agreement to move forward on the key priorities of my American Jobs Plan, Dementia Joe said Tuesday. Biden has a 55% approval rating overall, which is a stark contrast to that of his predecessor, former President 45, who had a 36% approval rating at the same point 4 years ago, according to the poll. Interesting. I wonder where they're taking this poll at. Likely Democrat voters, New York, San Francisco, really liberal areas, because there is no way he's got a 55% approval rating. Okay, despite a majority of those polled approving of Biden's performance, Biden's approval rating for the economy dropped 4 percent points from a similar survey conducted in April. Only 35% of those polled believe the economy is heading in the right direction, while 44% reported feeling very concerned about rising prices. Well, duh. He's in a delicate position with respect to the economy, Columbia University political science Donald Green said, according to Reuters. This coalition ranges from people in high-tech sectors to suburban swing voters to more traditional Democrats. They all want different things from the economy. Despite concerns over the economy, Biden has a 65% approval rating among those polled when it comes to the coronavirus, which could be his saving grace. Oh my gosh, no way. Right now, the dynamic is you handle the virus, you handle the economy. Senator Fellow at the Brooks Institute, Elaine Kamerick, said, according to Reuters. Oh my word. Oh, that really cracks me up. 65%. Yeah. Okay. Number 2 story. Number 2 Democrat in the House: rising inflation, a concern that we ought not to be ignoring. While Senate Budget Chairman Bernie Sanders prepares a spending bill that could total up to $6 trillion, House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer calls rising inflation a legitimate concern. The number 2 Democrat in the House, Steny Hoyer, said Tuesday, rising inflation is a concern that we ought not to be ignoring as the Democrat-led Congress prepares a budget bill that could reach $6 trillion. Wow. The potential $6 trillion price tag was floated by Senate Budget Chairman Bernie Sanders, who is working on a filibuster-proof budget reconciliation bill based on President Biden. I said it. $2.25 trillion American Jobs Plan and $1.8 trillion American Families Plan. I'm sorry, but I hate putting that word in front of his name, and I slipped it, so I apologize, because he is not mine. The White House and a bipartisan group of senators are also drafting physical infrastructure legislation after an agreement to spend $1.2 trillion was reached, according to the Wall Street Journal. Inflation is currently at its highest level in 13 years. Hoyer was asked during a news conference if he has a message for lawmakers and voters in his district who are worried about inflation rising due to increased government spending in a relatively short period of time. I think a legitimate concern is inflation, and we ought to make sure that we are acting within the context of that, the House Majority Leader said in a response to a question from Just the News. The good news is that we have passed some $5 trillion of spending last year, and it did not adversely affect inflation. That does not mean that additional spending may not have an effect. Didn't affect inflation. Well, why am I paying $1 a gallon more for gasoline? At any rate, if you want to finish reading this, you can move to Just the News. Okay, next report. Not to miss, Representative Laura Boebert unloads on Speaker Pelosi, Hunter Biden, and cop-hating Democrats in a pro-2A speech for the ages. There's supposed to be a video. This House floor speech was so exceptional. Representative Lauren Boebert was on fire. Whoever is helping Lauren in her floor speeches deserves a fat raise. She knocked this one out of the park. Representative Lauren Boebert, Republican of Colorado, took the floor of the U.S. House on Tuesday and proceeded to deliver a brutal takedown of Pelosi, criminal Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, the cop-hating Democrats, in her defense of the U.S. Second Amendment. Best part was when she started clapping. Representative Lauren Boebert from the left's riots across America to Biden threats to strip away our constitutional rights. Democrats are single-handedly responsible for the sale of tens of millions of firearms. Bravo. Well done. And here's the video. The left's gun-grabbing verdict is encouraging millions of Americans to exercise their Second Amendment rights by buying their first, second, or even 100th firearm. Bravo. Democrats can keep running their mouths, and we'll keep adding to our arsenals. Let's listen to this.
Madam Speaker, I want to begin this evening by thanking my Democrat colleagues for their outstanding work in encouraging millions of Americans to celebrate their Second Amendment rights by purchasing their first, second, or even 100th firearm. From the left's riots in cities across America to Biden's threats to strip away our basic constitutional rights, Democrats are single-handedly responsible for the sale of tens of millions of firearms. Bravo. Well done. And I hear that the interest has begun to peak when it comes to the sale of F-15s. Now, I have some questions for these freedom haters. When are you going to call on the chief executive, the basement dweller, to hold his own son accountable for his gun crimes? Hunter Biden lied on a federal firearms application, which is punishable by up to 10 years and a $250,000 fine, of which 10% will not be going to the big guy. Rules for thee, but not for my crackhead Parmesan-smoking gun criminal son. What about the disposal of Hunter Biden's gun in a back alley dumpster? And why was the Secret Service involved in locating this firearm? Can you just imagine for half a second if Donald Trump Jr. was involved in firearms crimes and his dad ordered the Secret Service to cover it up? That's just the start of the hypocrisy. Biden will call widely purchased firearms weapons of war, but then he'll tell you that you need an F-15 or a nuke to keep the federal government in check. He will target so-called merchants of death, but celebrate the 600 abortion clinics across America. This regime will encourage riots defund the police, and try to take away Americans' right to self-defense. Madam Speaker, the American people are not on board with the Biden regime's hypocritical gun grabbing. Instead, they are buying guns at a record rate. So my colleagues from the other side, they can keep running their mouths, and we will keep adding to our arsenals. Thank you, gentlemen. I yield back.
Wow, wasn't that powerful? I just absolutely loved what that woman had to say, that's for sure. It's about time we get some people with some guts doing their job for America. True patriots, that's for sure. Oh, well, I guess this is Don V with Truth Be Told, and we are out of here.